What's up, everybody? How's it going? My name is Larry Roberts, and you know what time it is. The time is now. The time is now to learn about credit utilization. Now, what is credit utilization? Credit utilization is one of the 5 factors that make up your credit score. Now, credit utilization is worth 30% of your credit score. So out of 850 points that you can get, times that by 30%, that's about 255 points that category alone makes up of your credit score. So it makes up 255 points out of 850 points. Now, in order to open that category of credit utilization that's worth 30%, you will probably need a credit card. Usually a credit card is which opens that up, because that's what they call revolving credit. Revolving credit is just a balance that can carry over from month to month. The balance revolves over and over again. Now, let's say that you obtain a brand new credit card, and on that credit card you have a credit limit of $1,000. So let's say that you spend $500 of that. That means that you have utilized 50% of that credit card. So if you spend $300 of that $1,000, that means that you utilized 30%. If you spend $100 out of that $1,000, that means that you spent, or that you're utilizing 10%. Now, what's the best percentage that you should have, or that you should try to keep and maintain in order to get a better credit score? I would say 0% or 1%, really. That's the best, the very best. The lower the better. But keep it at 10% and lower, that'll be excellent. That's what they look at as excellent. Anywhere from 0 to 10% is called excellent. A lot of people do say that 30% is good. 30% is good, don't get me wrong, but it's not excellent though. It's not excellent. It's just not excellent. It's not. 30% is good though. That's on the good side. So if you are utilizing only 30% of your
What?
You want.
So if you're only using 30% of that $1,000, which is $300, that looks pretty good, and you'll get a nice amount of points for that. I'm not sure what it is, but it's what is it? What's the math on it? It's just cut to the scene. Okay, so you'll receive 178.5 points when you utilize 30% of your credit limit. Okay, so here's the breakdown. FICO has a credit scoring module ranging from 300 to 850. So since credit utilization is worth 30% of 850, that's 850 times 30%, which is 255. That's the 255 that I was talking about earlier. Now, the equation to figure out how many points you get out of this 255 is 255 times 1 minus the credit balance divided by the credit limit. Okay, now for that example, for 30% of your credit utilization is 255 times 1 minus 30%, which is $300. So you spent $300 out of that 1,000, which is 30%. So it's 1 minus 30%, which is 70%. So 70% times 255 gave me that 178.5. Now for 60%, if you utilize 60% of it, it's 255 times 1 minus 60%. So 1 minus 60% equals 40%. 255 times 40% equals 102. And so on and so forth. Like for 0%, 255 times 1 minus 0 divided by 1,000. So 1 minus 0, because this is 0, right? 1 minus 0 equals 1. 255 times 1 equals 255. This is where you get the maximum amount of points, when you utilize nothing. They like to see that you utilize nothing or 1% of it. Something that's very, very low. The lower, the better. Now, this is how they score you. You have your credit history, which is worth 35% or 297.5 points. Your credit utilization, 30% or 255 points. Length of credit, 15% or 127.5 points. Credit mix, 10% or 85 points. And new credit, 10% or 85 points. Now, the credit bureau will sit down and grade you something similar to this. Let's say that your credit history, okay? Your credit history, he's doing pretty good. I see Larry, he's paying all of his bills on time, every time. I'll give him the maximum amount of points, 297.5 points out of your credit history. So I'll put CH, credit history. And then your credit utilization. Credit utilization, I've utilized 30% of it, right? So since I use 30% of my credit utilization, that'll give me 178.5 points. Okay, so that's credit utilization, 178. Pay attention to that. I'm gonna come back around to that. Now you have to go to your length of credit. How long has he had credit? He only had credit for like a couple of years, you know, only a couple of years. So out of 127 points, a couple of years, I'll give him about 28 points out of that. So that's length of credit. And I say that I'll give him 28 points. Let's say that you get 28 points, right? Okay, now let's move on to the credit mix. The credit mix, yeah, he doesn't really have a good mix of credit. All he has is that one little credit card. And he had that for about 2 years. So out of these 85 points, I'll give him 10 points. Okay? Now, for your new credit, which is inquiries. How many times are you applying for credit? Since you only have that one credit card that you have that $1,000 limit on, you only have that one, and you had that for about 2 years, that's no longer there. That hard inquiry is not there anymore. So out of 85 points, I'll give you 85 points. Right? So now we add all of this up. Okay, 297 plus 178 plus 28 plus 10 plus 85. That will give you 599. So now, out of all this, your credit score is 599, right? Now watch this. Let's say that everything stays the same, 297, but on your credit utilization, let's say that you paid off that whole 1,000, or that, no, I'm sorry, because you had 30%. You had a $300 balance, right? Out of that 1,000. You had a $300 balance. Now let's say that you paid that balance in full by the statement due date. Let's say that you paid it in full by the statement due date. So now that means that you get 255 points in that category. And everything else stays the same, right? So now it's 297.5 plus 255 now, right? Plus 255 plus 28 plus 10 plus 85. So now when you do that math, that brings your credit score to 675 points versus 599. Do you see that difference? The power in credit utilization, how you can play with your credit score there. If you didn't see it, rewind it back and look at it again, because I know you saw it, because I saw it. It's right there in your face. Look at it. That's amazing. 75-point jump just by messing with your credit utilization.
So now, as you can see, the lower the utilization percentage is, the more points you'll get in that category. So if you want the maximum amount of points, aim anywhere from 0 to 10%. And another thing that they say is you shouldn't spend more than 10%, or you shouldn't spend more than 30% of your credit card. You can spend whatever you want to. The thing is that you have to pay it back by what's known as the statement due date. Statement due date and the payment due date are two different things. They're two totally separate different things. Two separate. The statement due date is usually the date that they send your balance at that time, at that moment, in that date. They send that balance over to the credit bureau, and then that's what the credit bureau utilize to figure out what your credit score is going to be. Now, the payment due date is the date that your payment is due, whatever that balance is. Either the minimum balance of whatever you spent or anything that you pay on. It's just the minimum balance. It's As long as you pay the minimum balance, that payment is perfect. It's good. It just looks like you paid it. You paid one time, and that's good. But you don't want to pay just the minimum. You really want to pay the whole thing off because you want to avoid interest. Because interest is just the penalty that you pay for the right to own something in advance that you cannot afford. Now I'll say that again. I said interest is the penalty that you pay for the right to own something in advance that you cannot afford. But let's give an example of what I'm talking about when I say that you can spend whatever you want, but you have to pay it back by the statement due date. Okay, let's say that the statement due date is on the 4th of the month and my payment due date is on the 1st of the month. So let's say that I'm spending, and then I max out my credit card. Let's say that I have that $1,000 limit, I max it out, and when I max it out, it's around the 25th of the month, or say. So it's the 25th of the month, I max it out. Then the 26th pass, 27th, 28th, 29th, and so on and so forth. And then I get to the 2nd of the month. Now the 1st of the month that just passed, I paid that already. Let's just, don't get confused on that part. I'm gonna break that up again. Let's just say I paid that already. Now, on the 2nd of the month, I have a balance of $1,000. So now on the 2nd of the month, I want to pay $900 on my credit card. So now that on the 2nd I paid $900, the 3rd will pass, and then the 4th will be there. So once the 4th gets there, now I have a balance of $100. So now since I have a balance of $100, that's going to be the balance that they're going to report to the credit bureau. And then that's also going to be my bill that's due on the 1st of the month, $100 on the next 1st of the month, and that's what I'm going to have to pay on the 1st. But me, I just usually pay it off as soon as they get the balance. As soon as they send me that balance, I pay it off. But you do have a few days, a couple weeks to come up with that $100 in order to pay them. So that's the grace period. I'll go over that in another video too. So now the bank sent over that you spent $100 of that $1,000 that you have. You have utilized 10%. Now the credit bureau looks at it. He says, you utilized 10%. That is excellent. I like that. Now let me give you these many points, you know? So the credit bureau only sees what the bank sends them over. They don't see that you utilized the whole 1,000. All they see is that you utilized $100. That's the only thing that they see, and that's what they grade you on. It's no different than if you spent $100. Let's say that you spent $100 and then that's all you did on that credit card, and let the bill drop. You let the bill drop for $100. They send that $100 over to the credit bureau, and they look like, oh, he utilized $100. It's no difference. The credit bureau does not know everything that the bank knows. I'll put it that way. They don't know what you spent, everything what you spent on. The bank can see that you went to go buy some clothes, you went to go party, you went to go on a vacation. The bank sees that because they have everything, that's every swipe that's on there, and it keeps up with all that. But the creditor or the credit bureau, they only see what the creditor reports to them. Keep that in mind. That's a good tip. And then on top of that, when you are maxing out your credit card and then you're paying it down, that looks good to the creditor. That looks good to the bank. Like, oh, he's maxing this thing out, and he keep maxing it out, and he's paying it, and he keeps paying it, and he keeps paying it. We need to give him a credit increase. Once you do that for a few months, that's how you get a credit increase. So now you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a credit increase by your creditor, and you're getting the maximum amount of points with the credit bureau. You understand? Are you guys following me? If you're not following me, please comment down below, because I will explain it in a different way. But I hope you're following. Alright guys, I just want to say thanks for watching, and if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it if you want to get notified on any updates that I do. Visit that website if you want to learn more about credit. It's www.cashandcreditisking.com. You can actually get paid with this company, and you learn about credit, and you'll actually be increasing your credit score with this company while you're making money. It's a no-brainer to me. Again, that's www.cashandcreditisking.com. Hit me up on there and I'll get in contact with you. We can link up and work and get this money together, and that's it.
You know what time it is. The time is now. So go get it.